Welcome everybody to today's class. As you can see, I'm finally holding the book, Visual Phrasal Verbs. It is ready. You can see it's a chunky one. This is A4 size and there are 456 pages in this beast. There are 250 images, so there's plenty to help you with the phrasal verbs as well. Now I know you're thinking, where can I get this book? Well, unfortunately, the physical edition I've bought myself from Amazon. And it cost quite a lot of money for the proof copy, so that's not including the money that the thieves at Amazon will take, and so it really does cost a lot of money as a physical version. It's because it's so big, and they are lovely pages. I must say it's done very nicely. I'm very pleased with how it looks, and part of that is thanks to Yuri, who did the layout of the book, so thanks very much, Yuri. He was recommended to me by a very dear friend, so thanks very much to Maria as well. So if you would like to get your hands on a copy of this book, I have already made the PDF available on my website. You can go to it right now if you go to the website, and I'm going to put the link to my website under this video. It's skypelessons.com. Skype Lessons has got a hyphen in the middle, and it's on the main page. And if you buy this PDF, which is exactly the same, it's just e-version, the electronic version has hyperlinks, so you can go straight to the answers from the page where you do the exercises, and there are loads and loads of exercises. So if you want to buy this book, you can buy the e-version, and the e-version comes with 3 free ebooks. Line of Duty, English lessons for Line of Duty, English lessons for Mindhunter, and English lessons for Mindhunter, Line of Duty, and House of Cards. So I give you free ebooks as well to make the £20 go a little bit further. But as you can see, it's a very big book. It's got exercises for all the phrasal verbs in my phrasal verbs videos. Do phrasal verbs, make phrasal verbs, come phrasal verbs, let phrasal verbs, blah, 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 blah. And all of the prepositions, up, on, off, away, over, around, all of those prepositions as well are included in the book. You can have a bit of an idea of what the book consists of if you just look at the contents page, and I think you'll be able to see that quite clearly. That's what we're looking about concerning chapters. Now, the link isn't up yet because this is a live class, but if you just go to skype-lessons.com, you'll see it on the very first page. And as I say, for £20, you'll get this book and 3 ebooks. Mindhunter, House of Cards, and Line of Duty. They're all quite fairly new TV shows, and they have exercises for the TV shows, and they certainly have phrasal verbs in all 3 shows in many of the episodes. So I hope that will be interesting for some of you. Many people have already bought a copy, so thanks everyone out there who has already bought a copy. I'm afraid I have no idea what £20 is in dollars, but the good news is you can go to xe.com and you can find out exactly how much £20 is in dollars. But I do hope that you'll all be interested in this. It took a lot of time and effort and even a little bit of money, which is why I have to sell it for at least 20 quid, £20. But I'm really pleased with it. I certainly use it already with all of my students. You want to find out euros? xe.com has the answer. Not Mr. Skype Lessons. He doesn't keep the value of the currencies in his head. But yeah, please do grab a copy. I find it very useful to use with my students, and I hope that you'll be able to find it very useful too. But this is the only physical copy around at the moment. Now, if people are interested in physical copies, I will try to split the book up because it's too expensive at 450 pages with colour photos. It will end up being at least £50, and I don't think many people will want to pay £50. In fact, it would probably have to be more like 55 or 60. So I'm going to try and split it up. I'm going on holiday tomorrow, so I won't be able to do it for at least a couple of weeks. But I'll try and split it up into different parts if people are interested in the physical version. But the e-version is already available. Go to the website, click on the link. It will send you to PayPal. You don't need a PayPal account. You can use your card. So it doesn't matter if you've got a Spearbank card. Somebody asked for my Spearbank number earlier, so asking to buy the book, which I found strange. You don't need my number, you'll need your number, and yeah, you should be able to buy this book without any problems. And of course, if anybody does have any problems, I immediately know the emails of the people that have sent me money. So if you do pay for something and you don't get the ebooks for some reason, maybe it goes into your spam and you don't notice it, just get in touch. Get in touch on one of the videos, Facebook, vk.com, and I will certainly make sure that you get an e-version if I see that you've sent me money. Okay, so there won't be any problems. You'll definitely get all 4 books, this one, and 3 more books for learning English with TV shows, because the other ones are for learning English with TV shows. But they'll all come as PDFs. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now, these phrasal verbs are all from this book. They're from the final section where I revise a lot of the phrasal verbs that have already cropped up in the book. Okay, the link is Skype, SKYPE hyphen lessons, LESSONS.com. Yeah, that's my website. You can see that it's my website. You'll see my name on it. You'll see my face on it. So it's definitely me. Okay, so let's get stuck into phrasal verb clusters 4. Otherwise we won't get through these phrasal verbs. All of these phrasal verbs here have something to do with happening according to plan, or I think it's more likely to be, they're more likely to be used when something happens according to plan. So if something goes off, quite often we say the party went off with a bang, and that means it went off well. It went off really well. Yeah, there was music and laughter and dancing. The party went off with a bang. Yeah, but you could say the party went off exactly as we expected, and that means it went off well as well. You could also say that it came off well, and it means that it happened with a successful result. It happened according to plan. And you can even use a transitive phrasal verb and say, it sounds like a great plan, but I don't know if we'll be able to pull it off, meaning succeed. I don't know if we'll be able to get a result from this plan. Okay, so there's 3 phrasal verbs there, all related to happen according to plan. Now this one's slightly different. If you say the party went down well, usually that means it went down well with the audience, with the people that went to the party. Okay, so usually when you say, oh, it went down really well, you mean that people appreciated it. So it's slightly different from these 3, which just sounds like a successful result. But this sounds like people thought it was a successful result. People perceived it to be a successful result. And you could also say the party turned out well. There's nothing wrong with that either. That's a good one to remember. Okay, we've got some for studying now. Now, if you use this book, you'll be able to brush up on, bone up on, swat up on, read up on your phrasal verbs. And that's the whole point about this book. It's supposed to let you polish up. Yeah, you can see it at the back there. It's time to polish up your phrasal verbs. So polish up could be here in studying as well. When you polish something up, you perfect it in some kind of way. Now, if you sail through your exams, you pass the exams with flying colours. Now, if you don't know what that expression means, it means to pass your exams with the top marks. If you breeze through the exams, it's the same thing. Breeze through your exams, sail through your exams. They were really easy for you and you got the top marks. Scrape through your exams means you just about passed. You just about scraped through the exam and got the result, but it was the worst result possible, but a pass. Okay? It was the worst result possible, but a pass. So scrape through your exams. If you go over something or read over something, I haven't put that one on here, but it's also good. If you go over something or read over something, you're revising that topic. And if you pore over a document, or pore over my book, you analyze that document in detail. You want to really look at it in detail. So you examine it in the finest detail. So it's definitely worth poring over that book. And I hope that after poring over my book, these phrasal verbs will start to sink in. There is a lot of repetition in that book because I'm a big believer that the only way to learn anything is by repeating it again and again and again. And so I hope that using that book, it will help the phrasal verbs to sink in because they really are repeated in it loads of times. Okay, feelings and emotions. These ones are tough ones. Get carried away is very, very common. When somebody gets carried away, they lose control of themselves. Now, this one could be positive or negative. You could get carried away and get really excited and not be able to control your excitement, and everybody can see that you're super excited. But it could also be negative. I think it's more often negative, and you can lose control of yourself and perhaps become violent or angry and get carried away. So both are possible, but it always means to lose control of yourself, of your emotions in some kind of way, where you're not able to hold them back. You're not able to restrain the emotions. And that's another good one that should be in feelings and emotions. Hold something back, which means restrain emotions. Restrain emotions, and that one's certainly in the book as well. Now, if you work yourself into a frenzy or you work yourself into a state, you get carried away and you get really upset, and it sounds like you're partly responsible for getting upset because you've allowed it to happen. You've worked yourself into a state, and so it's when you lose control of your restraint again. It's very similar to get carried away, but this one's only negative. It's rarely, I don't think it's ever positive. It's always when you lose control of yourself and get upset. So it's negative, this one. So you ought not to work yourself into a state. My dad used to work himself into a state whenever he was driving. I don't know why, but he used to get angry and get carried away and lose control. Okay, he used to let his anger run away with him when he was driving. Not all the time, just when he was driving. But when an emotion runs away with you, it means that you allow that emotion or feeling to completely take over your being. And it's the one thing that's controlling you at that moment. And so this could be positive or negative. You might say, I let my imagination run away with me when I was writing that poem, something like that. And it means that my imagination took control of me, it took over. Okay, it's quite a rare one, but it's still quite good. Come over somebody. We very often use this when an emotion takes over again. So very, very similar to the previous one. I was really, really sick recently. I actually vomited, I threw up, I yacked up, I barfed up. There's a load of phrasal verbs for vomit. But I actually vomited more or less in the middle of a class. Now, fortunately, I had said to the student just before I vomited, I don't know what's coming over me, but I feel really sick. I'm going to have to stop the class. And even a feeling like a feeling of nausea can come over you, but any other emotion or feeling can come over you as well. And so when an emotion or feeling comes over you, it takes over your entire being. And it's the one thing that is controlling you at that moment. Okay, and if you bottle up an emotion or a feeling, this is slightly different from hold something back, where you restrain your emotions, you hold them back, or you can keep them back as well, but usually hold them back. But when you bottle them up, you don't allow your feelings to be expressed, and they build up, and they build up, and they build up. And the idea is that, well, a lot of people say you shouldn't bottle up your feelings. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily good advice or bad advice, but when you bottle your emotions up, you don't allow them to be expressed. You don't let them out. I suppose that's what we'd say for when you do allow them to be expressed. Let something out. Yeah, you don't let the emotions out. You bottle them up, and eventually you might explode with anger. Yeah, because you've bottled up so much anger, it suddenly you let it, the anger comes over you. You let it run away with you, and you get carried away. Okay, so you notice that all these phrasal verbs are very similar, and they're all about losing control of your emotions. Okay, these ones are all about being good enough or strong enough for something. So when you're old enough, when you're perhaps 16 or 17, it's time to face up to your responsibilities. And that means be old enough, or be strong enough, or be mature enough to face up to responsibilities, to take responsibility. Okay? But you can face up to a lot of different things, and if you face up to something, it means you are ready and prepared to take that challenge, whether it's responsibility or something else. There are many different things you could face up to, but it always means you're mature enough, strong enough, responsible enough to take that challenge. Now, if something lives up to your expectations, then it reaches your expectations. it could also come up to your expectations or come up to your high standards. So I said I was going on holiday just a few seconds ago. So I hope that the hotel will live up to my expectations, and I hope that the food, because it's all inclusive, will come up to my very high standards. Okay? Now, if you stand up to somebody, for example, stand up to a bully, then you find the strength and the courage to face up to that person and to tell them that you're not going to get pushed around anymore. You're not going to get bossed around. You're not going to get bullied. You're not going to get picked on. A lot of good phrasal verbs for bully as well. So it's always good to stand up to bullies. Remember that you can stand up for someone as well, and that means you stand up on behalf of someone else. You stand up for that person. Now, if you feel up to going to work, I didn't feel up to working on Friday. I was so sick, it was unbelievable. I don't think I've ever been that sick, and I had to call off a couple of classes at the last minute, which I hate doing. I really do. So I didn't feel up to having the classes. I really couldn't. I had to go straight to bed after vomiting several times. And yeah, we could say I didn't feel up to working on that day. But you can also say be up to something, and that means be good enough to do something, be cut out for something. There's another one, forgot that one. To be cut out for something. So if you say he's not cut out for teaching, he's not cut out for working in the classroom. I don't think I'm cut out for working in the classroom, by the way. I have tried it before. I did a few years in England many years ago in the classroom, and I've also done many classes in other countries as well. In Moscow I've done loads of different classes, but I don't really think I'm cut out for the classroom. I hate classroom management. I hate trying to get people to sit down and work hard, that kind of thing. I'm not a leader really in that sense, and I don't like doing it, being honest. I don't like disciplining. And so you could say I am not up to working in the classroom. Be up to tends to be general, and feel up to tends to be specific, in my opinion. Okay, Moscow is the capital of Russia. Okay, leave without anyone's noticing. If you sneak out of the room or creep out of the room, it means you leave without anyone noticing. It is that simple. And so if you're in a boring meeting, you might try to sneak out of the meeting early, but you could creep out of it as well. Sneak away or creep away or steal away means to leave quietly as well, but this one doesn't have an object. This one does have an object. So that's the main difference between those two. Best to leave questions to the end, guys, because I really can't. There are so many coming up. I can't read each one, unfortunately, but I will if you wait until I get down to about glance or peek and then put your question up. I will try to answer some at the end, and I'll try to sell you guys my book one more time. Okay, and if you spirit something away, this doesn't mean leave, actually. This means to steal something. It's weird that steal away means leave and spirit something away means steal. You could also spirit somebody away. I ought to point that out, in which case you're maybe kidnapping them, or maybe you're whisking somebody away. Now that's another one that's definitely in the book. Whisk somebody away on a romantic cruise, yeah? If you whisk your wife away on a romantic cruise, it sounds like you suddenly say, right, stop what you're doing, honey. We're going off on holiday. It's a surprise, you know, we're going on a cruise. And so you whisk her away. The idea is that you whisk her off her feet. You pick her up and you take her away. Hi, Otto, or Wagner. How are you doing? Good to see you. So yeah, spirit something away would mean like steal. A thief could steal a painting away from the gallery, but he could also, a kidnapper could also spirit somebody away. Kidnappers don't usually whisk somebody away. There's a romantic element with whisk somebody away, but spirit somebody away could be used for abduction. Okay, last group is a very nice, simple group because it's at, but it's a way of looking. Now, remember that we say look at someone, and that will help you remember that all the other ways of looking are also at someone, okay? All of them are always at someone. So, you could leer at someone. Now, leer has a sexual element, and it's usually when guys are leering at girls, and maybe if they're wolf whistling, yeah, kind of something like that. Yeah, if they're whistling at girls from a high building or shouting out lewd comments. Leering is still a way of looking, but there's a sexual element there of where they want somebody, okay? If you gaze at somebody, this one is love, so I'm going to put a heart here. Gazing at someone or gazing at something is with love and fascination. You can gaze at the stars. I have a telescope right here, and you gaze at the stars and they're beautiful. And so you gaze at them with fascination. But you can gaze at your beloved. You can gaze at the person whom you love. Okay? If you glare at somebody, this is angry. Or stare at somebody. These two are angry phrasal verbs, yeah? They're very angry. Glare at someone, stare at someone. I'm not entirely convinced these are phrasal verbs, actually, but they're still in the book because it's verb and preposition, so it's very similar. Yeah, glare at someone, stare at someone, there's anger there, there's hatred. If you peer at something, it means you examine something very closely. So you can certainly peer at something through the telescope, peer through the telescope, or peer at something through the telescope. But you could also peer at an insect through a microscope, something like that. So peer, it means look very carefully. You could also peer at someone through the curtains, but you're looking carefully at them. So there's a careful element with peer. Glance is very quick. Yeah, if I glance at the camera and glance away. Glance at the camera, glance away. Nice and simple, it's just a quick look. And the last one, and this is the time to start putting up your questions because I won't be able to read them otherwise. If you peek at something, there's something clandestine going on here. You might remember that I've done a lot of clandestine phrasal verbs, and this one's clandestine. Usually you peek at the answers in a test and you're not allowed to peek at the answers, but you peek at the answers, yeah? You might have a book in front of you that you're doing an exercise on and you're not allowed to look at the answers, but you peek at the answers because you want to find out if, well, you want to get full marks, something like that. Okay, now is the time to put up some questions, guys. So if anyone has any questions about the book, please put up some questions, or about anything else. I'll do my best, but if you have any questions about this book, now is your time to ask the questions. Silence immediately whenever I say it. It's so amusing. But please, if you have questions, now is your time. It's your last chance. And I'll be on holiday for at least a week, so there'll be no lessons for the next week, certainly not. But this book will be available. Okay. It is working properly at the moment, and I even helped a guy fix, or I paid a guy to fix it recently. The paper version will be coming soon. I'll break it up into parts and make it into a paper version. So Masterbot, if you're really not able to use the website to buy the book, get in touch with me on Facebook or VK, and if you send me your email, I will send you a bill, and if you pay the bill, you will get the book and free ebooks. So if you can't use the website, but I've tried using it and it works, and it's already sold 10 copies, so it's definitely working for some people. And I know from the look of the names that they live in various countries. They're not all from the same country. Some people are Italian, some people are Spaniards, I'm guessing from the names. And some people, I think one's a Hungarian, I think. And so lots of people in lots of different countries have already bought this book from my website. So I know it's working. But maybe it's not working for you. If that's the case, get in touch with me on Facebook. I'm there. And vk.com, I'm there. Or even on YouTube, I can reply. And I will make sure that your email gets a bill from PayPal. You don't need a PayPal account. You just need a bank card. And I think most of us have a bank card. Okay, yeah, good point. This is what it looks like on one page. Notice the number of pictures. There are a lot of pictures in order to draw out the subtle nuances of these phrasal verbs. There are a lot of pages. There's 350 pages of exercises and pictures, and then 100 pages of answers. And in the ebook, you have these lovely hyperlinks that Yuri put in. Thanks very much, Yuri. These lovely hyperlinks where you just go immediately to the answer. And then in the answer section, you've got a hyperlink that will take you back to the page where you were on, the page on which you were. So it is very nice. Thanks very much for that. I appreciate the compliment there, Rakesh. I really appreciate it. It impressed me as well when I saw it. It looks very nice. I mean, the paper quality and things like that, it's really nice. So this is what you're looking at on different pages, something like that. There are discussion questions, exercises, pictures. The exercises come in two sorts. You've got just ordinary sentences where you're putting in the verbs before the prepositions, or the prepositions after the verbs. And there are little mini stories that I have written, micro texts I call them, with missing spaces. Now in the first half of the book, the prepositions are missing. In the second half of the book, the verbs are missing. So it tests both sides of phrasal verbs, it really does. It's not available on Amazon, and there's very good reason. Amazon take a large percentage of the price, and I don't like that, when I can put it on my own website and take 100% of the price of the book that I wrote. So there's a good reason why I haven't put it on Amazon yet. You certainly can buy a signed copy, and I will split it up. All the people asking about physical books, I also like physical books, I do understand. So I will split it up into different sections, or try to make it smaller in some kind of way, although I don't think that will be easier. I think it's easier to split it up into 3 or 4 parts. And I'll split it up into 3 or 4 parts, and you can buy it in different parts. But each part, it will still be quite expensive for each part. My advice is buy the ebook personally. But yeah, I agree, Amazon sucks. I don't really want to use Amazon at all. I found out that if you charge more than £10 on Amazon, they take 70%, not just 30%. That's very kind of them, isn't it? Just seems like they do want a lot. Can use in different parts of speech. Not sure what that means. Okay, so thanks everybody for watching. Please buy it. That's why I've made this video. I wrote it in order to sell it to everybody. £20 is the cost. It's on the website, but you don't just get this book. If you pay £20, you get this book and 3 other books that I've written for TV shows, for Line of Duty, Mindhunter, and House of Cards. In fact, I can show you right now that I do have another book here. There is another book here. If people want a cheap book, here's another book. English Lessons for Line of Duty. Now this is a lot thinner than this big beast, but this is what I wrote for Line of Duty, and I didn't even bother selling this. I wrote this for my students, and I'm giving this away as a PDF for free with this. This has got English lessons for the first 2 seasons of Line of Duty, and so it's a bit more boring, it's just exercises, but it's got answers as well. And yeah, that's more like grammar and vocab, but there are plenty of phrasal verbs in Line of Duty. So this isn't the only book that I've got with phrasal verbs. Now I hope that throwing it around in front of you all has all given you a taste for the book. So I'm not sure what that means, sorry. If you have any more questions about this book, please put them under the video. I will answer them, of course. If you're having trouble buying it for any reason at all, just write underneath one of the videos, preferably this one or a new video where I'm going to be checking it or where it's relevant. There are so many phrasal verbs, I agree, there are so many, that's why I decided to write this book. There are many that I haven't included in this book. I wrote this with a student who was just on a second ago, called Otto, or Wagner Otto. He's down in Sao Paulo, and I wrote it from our lessons really, because he really loves phrasal verbs, and so we go through phrasal verbs each and every class. And I made a list of them, and I tried to bring them all together in this book, but I didn't get all of them. Unfortunately, there are still loads on the feedback from his lessons that I'm going to put in the second book, but I can't make it any bigger. It's too expensive as a physical version. So it took me about 4 months, 5 months, I think, to complete the book. It took about 3 months to write, and it took the rest of the time to get it all into a decent version. Yeah, I will be writing another book, providing that people keep buying this book. If people keep buying this book, I'll write a second book, of course. And it will probably also be on phrasal verbs, but I do want to do some classes on grammar as well. I'd quite like to show people how to identify parts of speech, because I can see that a lot of people find that quite challenging. I know a lot of you out there don't as well. It depends on how much experience you have with language. Okay, so thanks everybody. There it is. You can see it. It's big, it's chunky, it's expensive as a physical version, but as the electronic version, I hope you can see that £20 for this and 3 ebooks is not a bad price. And remember that I have spent money to produce this. It's all come out of my own funds. For example, getting somebody to do the layout, getting somebody to do those lovely hyperlinks that take you straight through to the answers, buying the images as well. I have to buy those images from Shutterstock. And so I have spent some money on this. This is why I'd like some money back. It's certainly not for free. Okay, thanks everybody for watching. I hope that was interesting for all of you. I hope you all immediately go to skype-lessons.com, click on visual phrasal verbs and buy yourself a copy. These phrasal verbs are in Britain and America. They're in all the films. They are English language. And, you know, always remember that phrasal verbs are often taught like it's something advanced. Believe me that children in England learn phrasal verbs as the first words that they learn. They don't learn them as the advanced words. They learn them as the first words. So even a song like Incy Wincy Spider has loads of phrasal verbs. Yeah, he climbed up the spout, rain came down, or down came. That's an inverted phrasal verb. There are loads of them, all in the lullabies and things like that. English and American kids, they learn phrasal verbs first. So you need to learn them as well. Get this book. Okay, thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to have to go and get packed now for my holiday, so I better go. But thanks.